Oh, recording in progress. Got it. We are north, what did I tell you? Northeast of Valier, about 15 miles. We're kind of in the middle of 3 small towns. And we currently sell our grass-fed beef. We sell it in bulk and by the cut, and we ship it all over the country. And I've been selling meat. Oh, but we did get pigs. So wish us luck on that. It is a different ballgame. I get a lot of help from Pam over there. We've been selling meat for about a year, a little over a year. So yeah, there you go.
All right, and then I guess we'll go. How about Corey, if you want to talk next?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So my name's Corey Falk. I'm in Sunburst, Montana, which is about 2 hours north of Great Falls, right by the Canadian border. We raise Aberdeen Angus cross cattle, so they're kind of smaller framed, grass finished beef, just like Stick Legs doing kind of. And then we've been selling wholes and halves for 20 years and cuts of meat probably the last 3 years, I guess. So, if I had a choice, I think I'd stick to wholes and halves if I could. But I mean, now we're in it and we're going to figure it out, right? So, yeah.
Awesome. See, Doug, you don't have to tell us what you do, but if you want to just say, maybe say who you are, where you're from. Okay, maybe Boyd, are you on there?
Yep, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Lila, if you want to just maybe say a little bit about your guys' operation and where you're located, how long you've been doing it.
Okay, we are north of Browning, and we sell buffalo and halves and whole beef. And most of our buffalo we have sold directly to restaurants. And so we have to have the capacity to store meat, store hamburger patties until they need them. And we've been at the buffalo probably 15 years. And the beef we just started.
All right, perfect. Thanks.
Janine, guys, come here, Bella. Come here, Bella.
Wrangling dogs.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. You're good. And then Casey, if you just want to introduce yourself to those of you who weren't on when you came on.
I am Casey. I work with the Affiliated Tribes of Northwest Indians Economic Development Corporation. So serving Native tribes in the Pacific Northwest region, a few in Montana as well. We also have some ag funds available. So we do work with some folks, a lot of fishers, but I'm thinking that that will be kind of similar to what we're talking about here today, or at least I'm hoping, since I don't think we currently have any deals with any ranchers, but really excited to be on the call. Thanks for having me.
Oops, I muted myself. All right, thanks for joining. Pamela and Jeff, do you want to introduce yourselves?
Yeah, we're Jeff and Pamela Ford with Triple F Pigs. We have been selling packaged pork for 3 years now. We do wholesale and retail. We were doing halves and wholes, but we opted out of doing that this year. We may revisit it later, but it just wasn't very cost effective for us to do it that way. So.
Perfect.
Oh, and we're in Dillon. Sorry, I forgot that part.
Oh, right. Right. So yeah, lots of different, I mean, yeah, I get it kind of worked out really well that everybody has a pretty different model. So I think everybody can learn a little bit. Cool. Doug, did you have any questions? I think you maybe had one that you put in that form, but was there any questions that you wanted to ask since you're the main producer on this call? Doug, are you there? Yeah, I guess we'll just kind of go into the questions. I think I sent everybody a copy of them, but I'll just kind of ask them, and then if you don't want to answer, you don't have to, but just whatever. If you think you can add something to that question, shoot away. So I guess my first question would be, can you explain the distinction between selling individual cuts versus quarters, halves and wholes, and then maybe like the pros and cons of both as you've done it?
Sure, I can take that because we do a lot of halves and wholes, I guess, if you want. That might be kind of helpful. So obviously, the advantage to us doing the cuts of meat was to expand our customer area, right? Because there's only so many people that have either freezer space or money to buy halves and wholes. From the cost perspective, the halves and wholes are so much easier because you just haul them down to the butcher and they go pick the meat up. And so our margin doesn't need to be nearly as big for that. And so on the beef side, we're kind of running into trouble. We have to go so far to get it USDA inspected to get the cuts of meat to sell if we're going to ship, which we're doing, just like Jenny's doing there, that by the time we drive all the way over there with 12 steers and then drive back with 12 steers and then stamp all the meat and all that stuff, you've got to have a lot of margin in those cuts to make the same amount of money, right? So if we could push enough halves and wholes to move all of our finished animals through that way, it would certainly be easier, but I think there's certainly a fit for cuts of meat too, right? It's just hard to compete with packers on that level, on the beef side especially. There's cool stuff you can do with pigs, right? Or you can grind them up and make sausage and all this other stuff. Yeah. But I don't know if that covers that exactly what you were asking, but it's the same cost for us to have them butchered, whether they're in Valier or they're in Ronan, and Valier is 30 miles away and we can do halves and wholes there.
Yeah.
And Ronan is 300 miles away. And that's the closest USDA plant, to put that into perspective, I guess, for us. So if we got closer USDA facilities, it'd make the cuts of meat way more profitable. For sure.
Hey.
So.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Okay, I didn't even know where the closest USDA one was.
There's Ronan and Butte and Big Timber.
Mhm.
And then
Miles City, I
Stillwater.
think, maybe.
No, that's
Yeah.
about it.
Wow, yeah, so nothing on the High Line.
Nope.
No.
If anyone wants to open one on the High Line, we'll be your biggest customer.
So Jeff and Pamela, you guys are kind of the opposite, right? You said you were not doing halves and wholes anymore. So what's it kind of look like for you guys?
So with us, it originally started as, we didn't know going in as pig breeders that our sows had to have 2 litters a year to be reproductively sound. So it was kind of a scramble our first year to get our extra litters sold because we had no idea that we would have that many. And we ended up feeding 19 extra pigs that winter because no one wanted to buy pigs as feeders, especially in Montana, because you can't keep them warm. So we kind of came up with the idea, just basically out of no other options, to try to sell them by the halves and the wholes. And we got half of those sold, and then we didn't know what to do with the other ones. So we thought, well, let's just try selling them by the package. And we started with a state inspected facility, just doing local sales at our farmers market. And it went really, really well. The folks that wanted halves and wholes, of course, they wanted a better deal on it, which you do get a better deal with the halves and wholes, but with our specialty program that we're running and our specialty feed that we are getting, we were losing money on selling them by the halves and wholes because there was more feed expense than there was otherwise. So we opted to just do everything by the package. It's a specialty specialty operation all the way around. And so it's more cost effective for us to sell it by the package, because we have people that have severe food allergies that are looking for things here and there to add to their diet that they can't find otherwise. But they also don't, like Corey said, there's no freezer space. They live in town, they don't prepare ahead, they don't have a lot of freezer space, so they just go to the store and buy it one package at a time, or they come to our house and they buy it one package at a time. And it's more cost effective for us to do it that way than the other way around.
Gotcha. Makes sense. Jenny or Lila, did you have anything to add on that?
Well, I'd
Um,
like to ask a question. On people that are doing packaging for,
Lila, we
Mm.
can't quite hear you.
okay, now can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to know what kind of storage space you have to have in order to do cuts of meat.
Sure. So what we have set up, which was thanks to the COVID grant stuff, was a 10 by 14 foot walk-in freezer now, which is great. I mean, that seemed like a lot of square feet. You figure it out and you should be able to fit 30 head of steers in there. And we got 24 head of steers butchered, and it was like so full we couldn't organize anything in it, right? So anyways, there's a lot of learning on that side too, I think. And so we end up with now a big walk-in freezer plus 5 chest freezers we had to go buy or whatever to fit this in to make it all organized. And so that's how we're set up anyways, if that makes sense. But
We have individual freezers as well. We don't have a walk-in freezer yet. That's kind of on the list of things that we really desperately need, but we can't afford to get one yet. So,
So then you're like us,
yep,
Yeah.
storing everything in freezers.
yep, locked freezers.
Yeah,
that ARPA money stuff would be a real good way to get at least half the freezer paid for if you guys have looked into that. I don't
I
know.
haven't even heard of that, so we're going to learn about it.
Pretty sure you qualify. I don't know
Okay,
if we're past the deadline or not on that, but I can send you that.
yes,
information.
that would
that'd be
be
great.
wonderful.
We have a walk-in freezer, but similar to Corey, we had to go with the walk-in freezer because when we started, there was not a freezer to be bought in the whole state of Montana except for a walk-in freezer. So we just had to pony up and get one. We even had family in Utah looking for freezers, and there was not a freezer to be found in the whole state of Utah, Idaho, or Montana. So we have a walk-in freezer and it's super handy.
Yeah, so that's a good question, because I think that's something that a lot of people would have just to get in the game. That would be an important question.
Right.
So I guess, do most of you, it sounds like everybody, Lila, do you guys sell most of your meat this way, or do you sell some of it through the ring still?
we sell quite a few calves and stuff through the ring.
Okay,
There have been times, yeah, but we have like 300 head. And we don't sell none of our buffalo through the ring, none of that. That's all, they come, they shoot it. And like right now for the buffalo, we're down to now we're having to buy buffalo for people to shoot. Because we've gone through all of our 2s, 3s, and 4s.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
and then Jenny, do you guys sell all of your meat direct to consumers, or do you sell some of it?
So we started ours because I'm originally from Salt Lake City, Utah, and I've lived in 5 other states, and all my friends and family were when COVID hit, like, hey, we need beef. Like the stores are empty. We didn't really experience that up here because Montanans are so good about like prepping and having all the food you need. So I was like, your shelves are empty. What's going on? And so we primarily only started selling cuts of meat and USDA inspected because our big customer base is Arizona, Utah, California, Tennessee, and Missouri. And there's, Seth and I are both first generation ranchers too. So, we don't have like familial connections of people wanting to buy whole halves and quarters. So that's been a slower sell for us. We do have some customers that buy those, but it's mostly by the cut. But we're still a cow calf operation. So we sell, all of our calves and stuff through the ring, and we keep like 50, 60 steers a year to finish and butcher. And then we've actually had a few different ranches in Montana starting to buy our steers to finish on their place too. So that's been kind of a fun connection to make as well.
Nice. And Corey, how about you guys? Do you sell all yours as halves and wholes and cuts, or?
We do similar to Jenny. Actually, we're probably 50 steers a year or so that are half that'd be halves and wholes and half on the retail meat side, I suppose. And then the rest of it, the cull cows and stuff are going to the sale ring still. But we did actually butcher a couple of like 3 or 4 year old. I think there were 3 coming 4-year-old cow heifers or cows or whatever, and the meat looks better marbled than what our steers did. So I think there's a sweet spot in there before they cross a certain age where we should be doing more of that too, I think, probably. But
Corey, how old do you guys save them until they're 2?
We're
scared?
only about 20 months, 18 to 20 months or so.
We butcher our between 2 and 3 years old.
Sure, and there's a pretty big difference if you can hold on to them that long. It's just the cost gets so high in them, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's up for the mark. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's no doubt the meat quality increases if you can hold them, I think, out from that 18 months into 24, right? Or somewhere in that ballpark. But that gets us into a whole other round of feeding hay all through the winter again. And so everybody seems real happy with the quality of the meat the way it is. Could we make it better and maybe get more money out of it? I'm sure if we held them longer, but we just, money wise, I haven't been able to work that out. Where you probably are better at selling higher end stuff, right? We're kind of just barely a step above grocery store price on what we're doing, basically, because we need to get the volume moved where we're at,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But that makes sense what you're saying too. It certainly does marble the beef better if you keep it longer. No doubt.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Jeff and Pamela, you guys sell all of it direct to people, right?
Yeah, except for our 4-H pigs in the spring, but we specifically breed them differently than our meat pigs. So we sell the 4-H and FFA pigs in the spring, and then everything else goes directly to our customers.
Gotcha.
Yeah, we'd love to be a big enough beef business one day where we can sell all of our steers, but we're not there yet. One day.
Yeah, and we're gonna have to find better consistent packer situation, I think, too.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Sorry, I think I just clicked. Oh, never mind. All right. See here. So I guess this is a question I've had as I've talked to producers about this. Is just like the distinction in labeling, especially with like state and federal, like, what are the different label or certifications allow you to do? Where can you sell it? If it's state certified versus federal. Yeah.
So with us, sorry, you can go, Jenny, if you want to.
You do it.
When we first started, we were just using state, and we just used his generic labeling, and it worked out really well that way. When we decided to go federally, we were put in touch with, we had to have all of our labels had to be USDA certified. We had to have separate labeling for fresh cuts versus cuts like sausage or bacon or anything that had any extra additives, which was, and every ingredient had to be approved because we have a specialty spice blend. Everything had to be 100% approved. It took a lot of time. It took a lot of money. And then you have to pay for the extra labeling with all of your logos and everything on it. So it is a lot more cost effective, like not cost effective. It's a lot more costly getting it to that point, but using a federally inspected facility allows you to ship out of state versus only being restricted inside the state. So it kind of opens it up. It is a lot more added expense, but it opens it up for outside customers without, like, out of the state.
Gotcha. So can you sell to grocery stores in Montana or restaurants for
Yes.
that matter with a state
Yes.
license or does
With
it
a
have to be?
With a state, we were told that restaurants could order from us, and I believe grocery stores can too with the most recent law that was passed. If it's got the state inspected certification on it, it can't be a custom done one, but which is great. Actually, there's a bunch of state labels. I just looked at the grocery store last night. There's a bunch of only state labeled meat products at our local grocery store. They won't be able to go out of state with their product, but they can keep it within the state that way.
Okay.
So can I ask a question? We have sold quite a few. We've had buffalo go as far away as Lodi, California, and they have taken it to a state inspected plant and then taken it home. So basically we should be,
Did
Yeah.
they purchase the buffalo from you before it was butchered?
they actually came and shot it, yes.
Then it's legal. You can do it that way. If they come and get it and take it out of state themselves, we were told that that can be done, but you couldn't deliver it to them. If it, for example, we were told that when we had state inspected meat, we had a friend in Colorado that wanted some. They had to come here to get it. We couldn't take it to them. And they actually did. It was family members. They came and got it and took it from our house. We didn't take it to them.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Lila, is the meat you guys sell to restaurants, that's state inspected? That's how they can do that?
Yes,
Okay.
and it's all hamburger. All hamburger, it's all made into hamburger patties. And actually, if anybody wants any, they can come to my house and I'd sell it to them that way too, but it's all hamburger.
Nice. Might have to take you up on that.
I run through Nations. Nations
right, yeah.
Station, they carry our
Okay.
burger.
Yeah. I mean, it's Buffalo Burger is kind of a staple around Glacier, so makes sense. Anybody else with something to add on that or a question about certifications?
I found a gal, she was fairly inexpensive and did you guys use Stephanie, Pamela, to get yours? Yeah.
Did-
Yeah, she was incredible.
Mhm.
And she was with Label Compliance Solutions.
Mhm.
And essentially I just sent her my logo, and if I wanted to, if you want to add any like claims onto your label, such as like grass finished or hormone free or antibiotic free, or what are some other ones, grain finish, whatever, any claims you want, you can send those to her, and she can give you like the details surrounding whether or not you can use them or how you have to prove it, or if it's like something that you can just claim and not have to like prove or whatever. And then she kind of puts a label together And then I just ordered like, I don't know, let's say I ordered 10,000 labels. I just got a big box of them and then I take them with me every time I go to the processor and I use those. But if I could recommend anything, it'd be to use a label compliance person, because I looked at it and I'm like,
Absolutely.
I have no flipping clue. And
Mhm.
she just, and she was relatively inexpensive, which was so nice.
Did you search any others, Jenny?
Yeah, because originally we were going with Tizer Meats because they were working on their USDA, and it never happened. And so they sent me to a guy named Mike, and Mike was just, he was fine. He just was like so confusing. And then I found out about Stephanie, and it was like, I mean, it was like so easy and
She's
so
amazing.
yeah, she just spells it out. She knows what she's doing. She understands the USDA ins and outs and processes, and just ours is just a simple, here's our logo, here's our address, and then the butcher can put all of their stuff on it. And it's pretty simple and nice.
Could I get maybe her contact information, that way I could kind of send it out. And then also Corey, if you could send me, I think I might have the ARPA stuff, but if you can send me maybe a link to what you have for that.
You bet.
Yeah, I'll grab Stephanie's stuff.
Yeah,
real
I mean, you
quick.
don't have to do it right now. I was just thinking as a kind of a follow-up thing.
If I
'Cause it
don't do
sounds
it
like-
now,
I
you'll
mean,
never get it.
It's better to go. Yeah, I mean, it's if you're gonna make claims on a label, you really need to walk it through somebody that knows what the legal ramifications of that, huh?
Yeah. Okay, I just emailed it to you.
Awesome, thanks. So yeah, that kind of actually goes into the next question I was going to ask. So I guess if you do have those, claims like grass-fed or antibiotic-free, that sort of thing, what are some? I mean, do they help sell meat? Do they? What's kind of are they worth the extra effort of going through that certification, I guess?
I think Pam and Jeff, you guys label up yours pretty. See, we actually don't do any labels on ours. And it was primarily just because we didn't want to have to deal with that, and we're not super specialized like they are. And I just have my Instagram account where I show everything. I show, when they're in the corrals eating hay, and when they're out on pasture, and what we do in the snow, and what we do here. And so you guys should talk more about your claims and stuff, because we don't really have claims on ours.
So our biggest claim is that we are a soy-free program. We try to also avoid corn at all costs. Specifically, Jenny knows our story and why we do and what we do. Matt, you do too. But for those of you that don't know, we're doing a soy-free program because my mother passed away of breast cancer a little over 5 years ago. And the type of cancer that she had was an estrogen feeding cancer. And when she was first diagnosed, every specialist that she saw said, do not eat soy and do not eat anything that contains it. So we never thought about it at first.
And it's very hard to stay away from because it's virtually
It's in everything.
every product.
It's
that-
used
that
as
contains soy.
it's used as a preservative in everything. We didn't realize it. The main feed source for almost all livestock is soy, because it's a cheap, high protein filler. And we did a lot of research. We did a lot of homework. We talked to a lot of medical professionals. One of the doctors here in Dillon, actually, we're blessed enough to have a local who actually has a degree as a MD, but he also has an animal nutrition degree and a pre-vet degree. The saying, what we eat, we are what we eat, is 100% true. They did experiments and science studies all through college. They fried up bacon and analyzed the grease, and every ounce of what that animal consumed in its lifetime showed up in the fat stores. So corn oil, soy oil, everything came out in the fat, in the grease. It's not transmitted so much through the meat itself, but it is in the fat stores. And so we just decided, in honor of my mom, to start feeding everything soy free, just to do it for our own health and our own benefits. And as it grew, we didn't really realize there's a lot of people out there who have severe soy food allergies or corn sensitivities, or, you know, nitrates, MSG, all the additives that you typically find in pork. They can't eat it. And so it kind of grew from just a health thing for ourselves to trying to help other people to be able to let them eat what they can't normally eat. So we grind our own grain from scratch every day to feed our hogs. We get it whole grains so that it stays fresh and the nutrients are always there, because you buy it pre-ground, it immediately starts losing its nutrients. And our customer base has, for being in a small community in Montana, I didn't realize how many people actually have food sensitivities and they can't eat it. So that's why we do what we do. And it's just growing. We've got people from out of state who have extreme food allergies that we ship to because they can't eat commercially grown pork. So that's what we're doing with ours. That's our claim, is we are soy free and corn free, and we're family raised from farrow to finish. We are start to finish. They are from birth to the freezer here.
What did you have to do for those claims? Like, did you have to prove them essentially? Like I said, we didn't do any claims, so I have no clue like what it even looks like to have a claim on
We
there.
had to send a signed document stating that we guaranteed it. It had to be notarized and everything. And then we mailed them to her that way. And I mean, we're very, very, very quality control here. We check all of our grain. And I mean, if there's an occasional corn kernel that comes through in the bags from being in the auger before, we pick it out and we throw it away. So, I know every now and then a kernel will slip through, but we focus really hard on not allowing any of those things to be in our grain.
We focus way more on the soy free.
Yeah, soy is the biggest one. Yeah.
Oh, is that claim on your label then?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Corey, do you have any claims on your label?
We don't, we do the same you do. It's all advertised through social media, and then we have our own two kind of little retail stores and our insurance offices. And so we're able to put descriptions up of what we're doing without putting it on the meat package itself.
Right.
And control that. And it's been great that way. And it's way easier, I think.
Well, and I think with us, just because it's grass-fed finish,
Yeah, and the grass fed, and we kind of sell our own regenerative egg story anyways, right? Between the soil
Right.
health and the farm and using the cattle and all that. So it all kind of, it's just a different set of circumstances, I guess, that we're in. But if you were going to put it in a grocery store or something, it'd be well worth having the label, because that's what you look at, right? When you're shopping. So, yeah.
Right. How about you guys, Lila? Do you guys have anything on your labels as far as claims?
We don't do labels.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. But yeah, that kind of makes sense with, the more you're marketing, like if you can do it through social media, that it saves you some cost on the labels. But if you're going to sell, especially to grocery stores. So kind of, actually a good segue into customers. What do your guys' customers look like? I mean, Jeff and Pamela, sounds like a lot of allergy related customers, but just in general, maybe, location.
Location, and we've actually started getting more recently a lot of folks that they just want to know who's raising their livestock, who's raising their food.
Yeah.
They want to see how they're cared for. They want to see, which is like Jenny, like she's amazing. I am not as good as she is with her social media. Like the social media is awesome. They want to see, they want to feel like they're involved. They want to somehow be a part of the process of where their food is coming from. So if they get to see the day-to-day operations on it, I think that is a huge seller, because we have a lot of people that just come ask if they can come see the pigs. They want to come see how we do things and how they're cared for and all of that. And I think that's a big part of it now nationwide. They want to have a connection to their food.
Yeah, it's the truth. I mean, I had that I think is one of the biggest steps to selling direct, is people want that connection. So like Corey has that connection through his offices where they can talk to him and understand his story. And ours, you know, is like, we had a customer just barely buy a box of beef, and she's been following my Instagram account for 7 months and just loves seeing the cows and the pigs and the kids, and just feels like she's like part of our farm, you know. And it's like funny,
Absolutely.
but like she totally does. And she's like, I want to buy your beef because I've like seen your beef grow up, you know. And I'm like, okay, you know, for some people that might be creepy, but for her it meant something to her.
Right.
But I do think that you know, selling direct to customer, you have to have, you know, if you're not super into social media or something, like you have to have a website that has like an about you video, or like a great FAQ page, or, you know, something where people can buy into your farm, because otherwise they just go to a grocery store, but they want to. So I started following Pamela, because I was like, oh, look at her pigs. I mean, they have a good life. You know, I was like super into it, you know. And like Corey and my husband, we did farmers market this summer, and they'd sit and talk about regenerative agriculture the whole time while I was by myself with my kids. And, you know, but you got to have those connections, because that's what people are looking for in the direct, because it is more expensive than grocery store meat. And that's just the way it is, because we can't, you know, no producer can really beat the cost of grocery store, especially Sam's Club meat. You just can't.
Right.
And so you have to have a reason why. And sometimes that's on your labeling, and sometimes that's just through like literally virtually inviting people in to your farm and telling your story. And so many people have such cool stories that need to be told. So there you go.
Yeah, that's good. Lila,
So-
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So now we're doing this wrong then, because when we sell a half a beef, we sell it for the price of hamburger in the grocery store. The whole thing is sold at that price. So you get all your steaks, your roast, and whatever else for the price of hamburger. So I guess we need to figure out how to do things differently, right?
Well, I think it's all about just figuring out your costs, right?
Mhm.
Like
Absolutely.
Corey was saying about, you know, holding steers over, and what he can charge versus what we can charge because of our customer base and stuff like that. And you want to make money on your meat. That, you know, when I first moved up here to Montana, and people were selling their beef and like for almost nothing, and I'm like, so you guys like love being broke, you know, like raise an animal for 2 years and sell it for nothing? Is that like the general like consensus? Everyone just likes being broke, so that, you know, it's like you actually got to know your cost of like how much. And so I took a course through High Five Meats, and they put out a spreadsheet with that course. It was $25 for 5 Zoom meetings, and the spreadsheet had all your costs from conception, like how much of the cost of that bull went into the cost of that calf, you know, and all that stuff. And I was able to say, wow, after butchering and after 2 years of raising this calf, I have to get $2,500 out of this calf. And if I want to make money, it's got to be more than that, you know? And so if you don't know your costs, then it's hard to even know where to start for cells. And so, yeah, that's after knowing my costs, I just knew I couldn't even do a grocery store price because I like to make money, you know, and I like
Stay
to
in
just
business.
exactly. I like to just be able to say, okay, wow, we can afford diesel this winter, you know, like it's so, yeah, that would be my biggest is just know your costs, and everybody's costs going to be completely different too, is the crazy part.
Right.
Corey and I are only 30 miles apart, 40 miles apart, but our costs are very different.
Right, yeah, and to maybe give you a little more guidance on your question, you should be able to get at least like $4 a pound hanging weight out of your steers, I think. And when you figure that backwards, right, about 60% of the hanging weight actually is meat. And so that would be equivalent to probably $7 a pound or something on average over all those cuts
Yeah.
across that animal. So if you're not close to that $4 range, you're probably not making enough money to make it worth it from what I can figure. Anyways. So I don't know if that helps or not, but I would be close to there if I were.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'd say
Yeah, I think
that's a really good average for cows.
Right.
No.
And it might be slightly different, Lila, with your buffalo. I mean, that would
Oh,
be.
totally. Yeah.
Well, we sell them by the head.
Oh, right. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So what?
and,
Yeah, I'm curious. What does your typical customer look like for bison?
They're usually men that are 50, 60 years old. We have had one woman from Cutbank, and they come up. They usually have an old-time gun. We usually have Will Christensen standing there ready to step in, because all of our buffalo run together. So they better get whatever animal they shoot. We need to make sure it's that animal, because we have had one person shoot 2 and pay for 1.
Oh, thanks. So are they mostly out of staters or?
Yes, well, no. Buffalo is very lean. We don't feed our buffalo any grain. They're all grass fed. And they like that leanness. And then it takes on whatever seasoning you put on, do tiny bits of seasoning, because they really take on the seasoning. It's not like beef. Nothing at all like beef.
Yeah.
Corey, I'm curious for you, what are your customers mostly fairly close to you, or are they kind of all around?
It started that way, like it was all just local people looking for halves of beef, and there wasn't many people doing that anymore. And then that just kind of grows as long as your product's good. But now that we can ship, you get, like maybe their alumni from Sunburst or something ordered and their friends have stuff, and then it organically grows as long as you don't suck at the meat part, right? I think, which we haven't yet, luckily, I guess. Looks wonder. But it's more of an order, like the farmer's market thing was good. It wasn't a genuine thing because we got to meet a lot of different people that then become customers that are kind of loyal. And it's not like all of a sudden you start a website up and you're selling 100 head of steers. I don't think it's like an organic growth thing over time, right? And it's hard not to burn out on it in the middle, I think, is part of our problem.
Yeah.
So I think if you can stick it out for the first couple of years, to me, it looks like it's probably gonna work out just fine. It's just the first couple of years you're trying, aren't they, I think? So, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in order to sell to a farmer's market, do you have to be state or federally licensed?
You do, you have to get your actual thing, the freezer or van or whatever you're bringing, it has to be licensed to sell through the county sanitarian. So that's the first
Oh,
step.
okay.
And then the meat has to be inspected, right? But once you pass those two things, now in Montana, I think, Jenny, I think I'm right on this, that once you get inspected by like Tool County's health inspector, it goes for all the counties now, right? I think.
That's what I thought, because we're a Ponder A and it was fine up in Glacier County. They didn't
And it
even
used to
question.
be that you'd have to, yeah, sorry, I was gonna say, it used to be you'd have to go to each county's health
Yeah.
inspector and get certified, and I think that's no more that way, I think, so.
Okay.
Right, and then
Well-
there's also dependent on the farmer markets, like different farmer markets require different certifications or
licensing.
different licensing
Mhm.
too, is what we've found. We haven't encountered it personally, but we've kind of heard through the farmer market grapevine that some do require different things than others.
Yeah, totally, like we looked at going to Whitefish over there, which would have been a higher end thing, but they won't even let you have vacuum packed meat there or whatever, right? It'd all has to be paper wrap product, so there's all these weird little quirks, I think.
Yep.
Mhm.
Or if you're in
Yep.
Sunburst or Cut Bank, you can do about anything you want, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
So that's the pro of, one of the pros of being in rural Montana.
But it is. The margin's probably not there where we're going. It'd be better to go to Whitefish or Great Falls, but it's way easier, I think.
Mhm.
So,
But state inspected is good enough for
correct.
farmers markets.
Yeah. State inspected is, you can sell retail in the states. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
the USDA is only for going out of state.
Out of
So it's
state.
like the same amount of what you can sell by the cut, all that stuff, but it's just going across state.
Okay. And just to
Right.
clarify, like a state inspected, like, Christians is state inspected, is that right?
No.
Christians isn't, yeah.
Oh, they're not.
Custom.
So, and the reason that Christians isn't is that they can't kill on site there. It's not that their facility isn't up to snuff. They have to do all the kills out in the corral and then haul the meat into town. And there's no way to get state inspected when you do that. So there is.
So where do
like,
you guys
we've
have to go to get state inspected?
Chinook could be, I think, our closest now, which would be a couple hours.
And then Lower Valley in Kalispell,
Okay.
Yeah.
but Chinook's closer, isn't it? Yeah.
And anytime you don't have to go over the pass, it's good. But then Lower Valley does a really good job, I think, over
Yeah.
there. So maybe worth it, but.
And Jeff and Pamela, do you guys just get all yours federally inspected just the whole way, or?
Yeah, we do
Okay.
now. When we started, we were using LNS Meats in Lima, and then we opted to just do all federally inspected. So
Okay.
we use Big Timber.
Yeah, and then one other just quick thing I'll throw in there is, so we've got a bunch of, let's say we end up with a bunch of extra roasts that are federally inspected. We've got a processor in town that's not a federally inspected slaughter plant, but he can actually turn that into jerky because he's state inspected for making jerky, let's say. So as long as those cuts are federally inspected or state inspected, you can take them to somewhere like that and they can turn that into jerky you can then resell, even though his facility's not licensed to federally or state inspect kills, right? Does that make sense?
Huh.
So there's some
I
weird
did
little
not know
things.
that, Corey.
Yeah, so
That's
if
cool.
you find a place you really like to make sausage or jerky that's licensed to process meat that way, you can take them, all your leftover cuts, and have it turned into something like that.
Yep.
Want to, so,
That's genius.
well, I don't know. I've never been accused of that before.
Let's see.
So Christians then is not state inspected.
No.
No.
They're custom, so you can take wholes, halves, and quarters there if you pre-sell the cow, the steer, but yeah, they're not state or federal.
So to sell something, to sell something that Christian's processed, do you have to sell it before it's dead, essentially? Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Yeah, technically, yeah, like we haul all the animals there or whatever, right? But then you're technically selling them. As long as you do a whole or a half, the state doesn't really seem to care that much, do they?
Okay.
Whether they pick it up or you take it there or whatever, but if you get beyond that, then you're kind of in trouble. Yeah. That's
But the legality is that they've bought it.
correct.
Gotcha. Yeah, that kind of covers most of the stuff. Let's see. I guess real quick on, so where would you guys say, where do you sell, of the meat that you sell directly to your customers, do you sell it like from a website primarily or over the phone, or what's kind of the primary way that people buy it from you?
Ours is our website. I do marketing at
Okay.
farmers market and online, but my website.
Right, and ours will be our website too. We just use grazecart.com. We'll make the website up for you basically.
Yeah.
And you probably use some similar service, Jenny, or something, or maybe you did yours, I don't know, but
No.
yeah.
We use the website and farmers market, and most recently just the grocery store. It's been a lot easier doing it that way.
So how'd you get in with the grocery store?
One of the managers here in Dillon has been hounding us since we started, and we didn't think that we would have the numbers nor the capacity to keep up with the demand. And so we held off, and just this last year when we started USDA stuff and had our numbers, we really grew our herd this summer. They finally said, okay, get it in here. And from there, they did a pretty long radio interview about us. And now they want, because it's a chain of stores, they want to try to get us in all 7 of them. So we're in 2 of the 7. So
Awesome.
Working
on the third
third
one.
right now.
Good job, guys.
That's
Thank
awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, do you guys have any other questions for, I don't know if Doug or Lila or any of you guys have questions for each other, or coming up on an hour here.
I got one. I'm just wondering about how you chose your processor, and kind of, it seems like there's been a trend to start going into more of a packaged product. And I'm just wondering how that's affected cost and things like that.
So with us, we actually have a USDA processor that is very close to us. It's 64 miles, and they don't have a good reputation. It's very much so known that you can't guarantee getting your own meat back. And they have changed ownership. We know someone who works in the plant there, and he just recently told us that they're actually working towards eliminating all of us
Doing more of a custom thing.
doing a custom thing and selling it themselves versus taking in other people's meat. So we started looking a year and a half ago to try to find another USDA processor. And with us being in Dillon, there's actually a closer one over in Idaho, but you have to worry about traveling across state lines and having all of your travel permits and all of your veterinary health inspections and all of that. The next closest one that I found that was willing to take on new customers was Big Timber, Pioneer Meats over there, and they had just gotten their USDA certification, so they were still taking on new customers. And for the time being, we're going to be loyal customers to them because they've been very good to us. So that's how we chose ours.
Yeah, we chose ours based upon somebody that had an availability.
Yeah.
It was when COVID hit, a lot of producers decided to take this route. And I think I called, oh my gosh, I mean, we were gonna drive ours all the way down to Star Valley meat block down in Star Valley, Wyoming. That was until Big Timber called us back and said, "Hey, we have a spot for 6." And we're like, "We're coming. Get in the car, kids."
Yep.
And so like as of right now, I mean, that's what we've got. You know, I would love to get a consistent, but even then it's just been difficult. Ronan had openings at the same time too, and we went with Big Timber just because our friends did and they really liked them, so we're like, well, that's a good review. So
Mhm. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, same with us, I guess, we just, whoever had availability and was the closest, although that doesn't always work out to be the best service either, right? And so
Yeah.
you can run into some crazy stuff if you choose a packer that they don't cut it consistently, or you end up with all these cuts you didn't ask for. Now we've got 20 different cuts, you know, that we gotta try and sort through and sell, which is difficult. So you really, really should take the time to research that part, I think, before you get deep into this.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good question.
And it would be awesome if there was so many USDA and state inspected, sorry, somebody's leaving me a message right now, places that you could have those choices. But as of right now, until we find that balance of producer and butcher, you don't really have a choice. I mean, if you can find somebody, if you are lucky enough to find somebody consistently that you also love and trust, then you're in good. I would say the majority of producers are just trying to just find somebody.
Absolutely. Yep.
So.
Alrighty, any other last questions?
I'd like to know if anybody, we buy 4-H animals. Okay, and then we went to the place in Shelby that is where they sent us. And to me, I think we didn't even get our own meat back. And at one time, we was up to raising 2,000 pigs a year. And right here on this little 7 acres that Boyd and I live on, and we would haul it to Shodo. So I'm pretty good at knowing what comes back on the pig, right?
Oh, absolutely. You can absolutely tell when they've been fed a specific way, you can tell 100% what is yours and what is not.
Yeah, and then we get this pork back and it's not what we bought. And then what do you do?
Yeah, I could go through a whole list of horror stories we've had in
Yeah,
years that we've done this with packers, and that's why it's really important. If you find somebody you can trust, I think it's worth an extra 10 cents a pound hanging weight or whatever.
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
Yeah, like with us, we have one customer here in Dillon who like anaphylactic allergic to soy. She hasn't been able to eat pork since she was a little girl, and she's in her 60s now. She can't touch it at the store. She can't eat store-bought chicken. She can't eat anything like that. So it's very important for us to get our hogs back because she's ordering meat from us. And if she gets meat that comes from a different hog that's been fed soy, it's like a life or death thing with her. So we have to know that our processor is guaranteeing that we get our hogs back. Yes, absolutely.
Your own meat back.
Yeah, so I guess there's a little bit of a balance, like finding somebody that's available, but finding somebody that, I mean, they have to be somewhat trustworthy.
Yes, absolutely.
And you even see, we deal with enough different packers that the amount of meat you get back from your hanging weight can vary even large percentages from one packer to the other. Just I don't know where the meat goes, but it goes away somewhere.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Matt,
Great.
you need to start, we need to get our packing pot up.
I
and
know,
going,
yeah, yeah, if we could have one in,
And then
Yeah.
be federal.
yeah,
Mhm.
that would be huge. That would be huge. Alrighty, well, I want to respect you guys' time, so I think we're up to an hour here. So I'm gonna, I recorded this and then I'll get an email out with a couple of those links that you guys mentioned as a follow-up. And yeah, I really appreciate all your guys' time and felt like this is a pretty good conversation to have, and hopefully everybody learned something. So,
Yeah,
Great.
thank
Thanks.
you.
all right, thank you guys.
Matt.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you all.